Hey. Welcome. My name is Lee Matthew Jackson, and you are joining me for confession. Forgive me, for I have sinned. It has been at least a week since my last confession, and I want to share with you, whomever is watching, and whomever is watching the replay, the things that I am really bad at. And why? Because I want to illustrate that we are all human, that we all have issues that we need to overcome and to resolve, and frankly, that I'm not perfect despite all of the amazing content that I have out there. Let's set the scene. My favorite phrase: I have a podcast. It's popular. We have thousands of downloads around the world, which is phenomenal. For example, we have 70% of our audience in the United States, and they all think I'm brilliant. Well, that's a slight exaggeration, but I get a lot of email, I get a lot of messages thanking me for the great content and how people's lives have been changed, and that is really encouraging. And it's easy for people to think that Lee Jackson has got it all nailed just because I create all of this content and I'm able to give such wonderful advice and people are able to follow it and see success in their business. It doesn't mean that I don't have issues too. And what bugs me so much is when I look out at the online gurus out there who like to position themselves as absolutely freaking perfect. They know everything, they can do everything, they don't make mistakes, and there is nothing more unattractive than somebody who shows up knowing everything. You don't resonate with people who apparently have got it all nailed, don't make mistakes, make multiple figures, and you just need to kind of bow at their feet for the knowledge that they have. Oh, and part with an awful lot of money. So I'd like to share with you some of the things that I really struggle with just to get rid of the idea that Lee Jackson has got it all nailed, because Lee Jackson really doesn't. Lee Jackson knows a lot of theory that he has learnt the hard way over time. And he puts that theory into practice as best as he can, but he still has issues. He still struggles as a business owner. He's still definitely not perfect. In fact, he is far from perfect, and I don't know why he's talking in third person. So let's start with the first one: day-to-day administration. I absolutely suck at day-to-day administration. If you could see under my desk right now, number one, I'd ask why you were there, and number two, there is a filing cabinet. That filing cabinet is crammed full of any documentation that I receive. I will get a letter from the government. I will open it. I'll know I meant to do something with that letter. Respond to it perhaps, or send it on to the accountant, or call somebody. And it goes in that drawer, or in the third drawer, or the bottom drawer. And I tell myself I will remember to go ahead and I just read a comment from Matt. To go ahead and look at that later, and I never do. So there are letters under my desk from 2011 that I've still never really done anything with, and I dread to know what was in those letters. I'm really bad at the day-to-day administration. It's the same with the emails that come flooding in. I'm really bad at getting that organized, at organizing those and going, right, I need to actually respond to these. I'm great at just filing everything and saying, ta-ra, don't need to actually do anything with you right now. I'll remember at some point to come back to you. And that's really bad practice. I am absolutely terrible at it. Thankfully, there's a fix. The fix is I have somebody who checks my emails for me and who puts things that are really essential for me to do something with into a special folder, and I have a task management system where I then ensure that those flagged messages will show up. Microsoft To Do is great because that will actually show flagged messages up in my to-do list for when I'm doing my admin. Secondly, when I get letters, I put them all in a big pile. And then I give that pile to someone else to say, something needs to happen with these letters and I don't know what it is. It's the same with receipts. My admin on receipts is atrocious. Thankfully, my wife collects all of those. They all go over to her. She organizes them. She puts them into order. She references the projects and all that sort of stuff and hands everything over to the accountant. Because basically, I'm seeing the comments. Basically, I am crap at admin. I know the theory. I know the best practices. I can look at a broken system and I can say, this is how to fix it. But I am not the person to fix it. I'm the person to say, here's all the paperwork. Somebody save me. I can't even face it. So there you go. Number one, I am crap at the day-to-day administration. The fix, thankfully, has to be getting other people involved who are good at administration or have frankly just been paid to do it. Next is remembering what I meant on a task. So I have my task list down here. It's on a piece. Well, it's the book, the to-do list, and I'm really bad at remembering what I meant. I'm in a rush. I'll write a task down. I must do X, Y, and Z, and I just have this silly habit, and I know I'm doing it, where I'll write down almost a shorthand version of what I need to do. And I'll tell myself when I'm writing it, this is a really crap description, but I'm going to remember this because this is really important. And I tell you what, the following day, I will read that task and I will have no idea the context of that task, what I was supposed to be doing, what project it's related to, whether or not it was super important or not. And I get really frustrated with myself. The fix? Well, I can't really outsource that. What I have to do and what I have been doing is questioning myself when I write those tasks down. I still use the physical paper, and also we've got Microsoft To Do, and we manage stuff in Airtable as well. We do our integrations, etc. And I have to make sure that when I write my tasks down, I'm writing down a project reference, so at least I understand that. I'm giving it a score when I write it down of 1, 2, 3, or 4, so I know 1 being urgent, 4 being not so urgent. And I'm trying to put together at least some sort of sentence which will help me understand what the hell I'm talking about. And the problem is that's the system. I keep breaking it because I get stressed, I panic, I rush, and I have to keep holding myself to account to that one. So that's one I'm actually still struggling with, remembering what the hell I wrote. Let's just pause for a second. Matt says, things you're really bad at. I can't wait for a 4-hour live stream. I'm only sharing the ones I've written down, mate. Thomas says, obviously, you're bad at shaving your head. Since I've been wearing the cap, mate, I have not had to shave my head, and I've allowed my hair to grow all around the edges. However, I did shave it yesterday. Tanya says, I had 2 bags of paperwork for my tax returns in my car for 3 years, schlepping them across Europe to conferences between my offices on vacations. Meanwhile, I had to pay 2 late fees amounting to €3,000. Blimey heck! Tanya, when I finally sat down, I was done with it in under 2 hours and got so angry with myself for putting myself through all of that anxiety for 3 years. Holy moly! That's amazing, Tanya. That is incredible. And funnily enough, I've paid those late fees. It's been ridiculous. I've paid the late fees. I've got stressed. And then when I just sit down and focus, it's really not that hard. You're totally right, Tanya. But at the same time, for me, I still find even those 2 hours almost impossible to just sit and focus. I don't know what I've got, but my brain just implodes and I just find it overwhelming. So the only way I found I can deal with it is to pick it all up and go, someone else's problem, please deal with that. And then I'll only have to deal with the 1 or 2 things that someone might say, what's this receipt for? Or what invoice does this relate to? What project does this relate to? Or whatever. And then I can go, oh, that's, and then I'm done with it. Steve, mate, really good to connect. Great to see you. So I finally found out a system of getting all of my comments from YouTube, and I found that Steve's been religiously commenting on YouTube videos, and I found like one from 9 months ago, and I've just replied to a 2-month-old video. So hiya, mate. And also, Rick says I'm bad at growing hair on my head. You are totally right. Wine helps, Tanya. That's good. Let's keep going with the confessions. Okay, so I've just covered the first one, which is my day-to-day admin, and Tanya's just shared her story of a €3,000 fee. I've also shared that I've struggled to remember what the hell I'm writing when it comes to my tasks, and I'm really having to hold myself to account on, a rating, a project reference, or a client reference, and a little like 1-sentence clear description of what it is I need to do. I'll often say, send link about website. That was it. Send link about website. What does the hell does that mean? That's actually one that's on my list. I don't actually know what I need to do with it. Someone will email me asking for the link, and then I'll remember that it was that. Anyway, let's keep going. Keep cool under pressure. I am really bad at this. I do not keep cool under pressure. I know I look chill. I know I'm very happy-go-lucky, etc. Nice kind of guy. I wouldn't say boo to a goose, but I do not do well under pressure. It's the way I'm wired. I do have quite severe anxiety. It's a battle I've struggled with for many years. And when there is pressure when maybe something's gone wrong and I feel out of control. It feels out of control. I don't have the control over that situation, or people are putting pressure on me and deadlines and stuff like that, then I lose my cool. And losing my cool for me is starting to like email everyone going, what's going on about this, and texting multiple people and calling multiple people and just like being frantic and thinking I need to work all night and not being able to switch off and just emailing everyone, not emailing, jumping on a phone with my business partner and chewing his ear off for like half an hour about how stressed I am about the whole situation and not actually dealing with the situation, but just being stressed about the situation and getting myself all wound up and then going to talk to my wife and telling her all about this situation that I'm really stressed about because I just can't cope. And it's not really healthy at all. And I have to take a step back. I have to calm the hell down and tell myself that you only live once, that it's only important right now and it's not going to change the world, and that I just need to cool it down, think logically, what is the next step that needs to happen to resolve whatever the situation is. But my first response is always to have a mini freak out for at least 30 minutes when something goes wrong until I finally come down and think logically and calm it down. And usually it's someone like my business partner or my wife or one of my friends who just will say a logical sentence to say, like, what's the worst that can happen? Calm down, Lee. You're wasting time. What's the next step? Just do the next step. Everything else will fall into place. So I don't keep calm under pressure very well, at least not for the first 30 minutes. Next one, finishing things. I am terrible at finishing things, which is surprising since I put a podcast out every week. I show up live 5 days a week. I have written a book and completed it, etc. I finish a lot of things, don't get me wrong, but I also don't finish a lot of things. I'm the sort of person who comes up with loads of ideas and I get really, really excited and I throw myself into that idea. I do a whole load of work. I waste a whole load of time. And then maybe 3 or 4 weeks in, I stop, just flat out stop. And it goes into the graveyard of ideas that have never been followed up that I've spent tons of time on. And the only way I found I can avoid that is by revisiting our identity every single month, reminding myself who are we serving, what problems are we solving, what are we delivering for our clients to help them solve those problems, and are any of these new ideas relevant to that? If they're not, they need to go on the shelf, and if they are, they absolutely need to be finished. By hook or by crook, I will finish whatever that thing is. So that's what I'm having to do. I'm having to drag myself over the finish line on a lot of these projects, on a lot of these things that I know I need to get done. But if I allow myself, I get distracted, I come up with new crazy ideas, I go gung-ho after them, wasting hours and hours and hours on things that never, ever get finished. So there's another confession for you. Next one, staying focused, which is odd because I've actually told people how to stay focused. I've done a live stream explaining how you can stay focused. And I can focus if I follow my own advice. But just so you know, naturally, I am rubbish at staying focused. If I didn't have my little framework for ensuring that I get work done, that I keep to deadlines, that I keep myself going through this to-do list on my desk, if I didn't have that framework, I would be rubbish. I would allow myself to go and check the BBC News website and then go onto the Sky News website following that, then spend countless hours on Facebook looking at things, then going and making the 50th coffee for the day before I start working. So if I didn't have that framework, if I wasn't strict with myself, if I wasn't accountable to my business partner and to my colleagues, then I wouldn't get stuff done. And I will confess to you right now that there will still be 3, 4, maybe 5 days a month where my focus will be really off. I won't follow my own advice. I won't lean on the framework that I've established. I guess it's tiredness, stress, whatever that is. There are definitely days where I do not perform to the best of my ability. I do not follow, those frameworks. I just lose my focus and start going off in all sorts of directions, which is usually where these really crazy ideas come in, and I get really distracted by them as well. And then finally, keeping work stress out of my personal time. Now, I tell people all the time how to build an agency that they love. Okay, so you'll say, what? Work stress? Surely not. Yes. Unfortunately, you cannot avoid it. Work is stressful. Running a business is stressful. Working with clients is stressful. The economy is stressful. COVID is stressful. Getting new clients in is stressful. Saying goodbye to old clients is stressful. Support tickets are stressful. There are things that will stress you out. And I struggle to leave this room at the back of our home, let it all drop, and switch into dad, husband, Lee, chilled mode. I really, really struggle with it. What I've found helps, not all the time, but what I have found helps is to make dinner. So I'm here. Behind that door is the kitchen. And we usually have a meal plan. I know exactly what I'm cooking tonight. We're going to have mixed salad with quiche. We're going to have potatoes and other accompaniments, etc. So it's not a difficult dinner at all. But what I like to do is go straight into there, grab myself a nice glass of white wine, of course, and start to cook. So before I'm having conversations, before I'm deeply engaging with family, etc., I'm just having a little bit of a wind down time by doing something that's really easy for me, that I can see the output within minutes or within an hour. So on a project, I find in the workspace, you see things happen over many weeks and months, and then you finally see the end result. For me, I can go and do some cooking. I'm not thinking about anything else other than the cooking, and then I get to see the family enjoy the meal. And by the time I've gone through that, 20, 30, 40-minute process, I'm finally kind of calmed down, work's now a memory, and I can be a normal human being. But I really struggle with that kind of transition. I've never been able to just do that. I would love to be able to leave this room with a bad day behind me and just forget all about it. So that's something that I'm really bad at as well. Let's have a look at some of the more comments. So Stephen says, haha, yeah, I deserve that one. Steve is the real MVP. Rick says, one thing that I procrastinate time and time again is mailing my clients in a timely manner to extend their maintenance plans. The thing is, I realize that I'm procrastinating when I'm pushing it aside. I do not know why I'm doing it. I just can't help myself. Maybe we should talk about that on our next call. Someone has piles? No, I'm joking. Tanya has piles of notes that I have no clue about. Oh, I'm glad you do the same then. So you write things out and you don't know what you mean. Rick, I procrastinate. I'm mailing my clients in a timely manner to extend the maintenance plan. The thing is, I realize that I'm procrastinating when I'm pushing it aside and I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm not sure I fully understand that one, to be honest, mate. Do you want to rewrite that one? Matt says, I think you skipped your visit to Penn Island. So there is a running joke about the different pens that I own, and Matt likes me to show at least one pen that I own. And today's pen looks wrong, but it is a pen, and it's actually a nice pen shaft, which then has a nib, and this is a copper plate nib that it's a nib that you would use for copper plate, and what you do is you apply pressure. I don't know if you can see that. I can't see the focus, can you? It's not really, but as you apply pressure, you see the nib splays apart, and that creates thicker lines when you're writing. So thin and thick lines by applying pressure on the page, and we've got ink wells over there that allow me to... I'd show you an example, but I don't have one. Allows me to create really nice shizners. Oh, that's a fancy looking pen and a great shaft. So thank you very much, Matt, for your help. So let's do a quick recap. I've just shared with you some of the things that I am really bad at because it's tempting to assume that people who show up online have got it all nailed. We haven't. Day-to-day administration, I'm crap at. I've got so many letters down there, it's unreal, and I now have to just give everything to somebody else. My receipts, my admin, everything to someone else to sort out. I'm terrible. Remembering what I meant on a task, I really have to hold myself to account, and I still slip. On writing down what I mean, a priority, a project or a client that it's related to, and what I'm actually meant to be doing, and even why it's important, so I can understand when I come back to it tomorrow. Tanya also shared she does that with notes. Keeping cool under pressure, really, really bad at that. I freak out for at least 30 minutes before I do anything. Finishing things, I get loads of crazy ideas. I've got a graveyard of unfinished ideas all over the place. Staying focused, I can tell people how to stay focused, and yet I myself struggle sometimes to follow my own framework. And keeping my work stress out of my personal time. Rick says, he's following up, I need to mail my clients and invoice them for a new year of maintenance. I get it. And I get a reminder about this, but I'm not going to do that until the last moment. Now I fully understand you. I thought for a minute you just meant you were sending them a monthly email about their maintenance. So I wasn't sure I fully followed, but you're absolutely right. So with my administration woes, I am the same as you, Rick, and probably the same as many people who will be watching the replays or engaging on this. Billing is one of the worst things for me. I'm great at doing the job. I'm great at getting stuff out there, but actually sending out the invoices are things that I too will do last minute. And I've never quite understood why we do it, but sending invoices, doing the billing, all of that sort of stuff, if it was left to me, will absolutely go last minute. Thankfully, it's something that, again, I've just offloaded along with all of the rest of my admin and just said, somebody needs to do this, because if it's me, it's either not going to go out, or it's going to get forgotten, or it's eventually going to go out, but it's going to be pretty late, and that ain't good for the cash flow, that ain't good for the business, and that ain't good for my client relationships either. Matt says, why not set up the invoices to go out on an automated yearly regular basis? Good point, Matt. Rick, that's a good point. But also be careful that you've not done what I've done. And there is one invoice that keeps going out to a client who's no longer a client. And for the life of me, I have not worked out how to stop it. It went out again a couple of days ago. I emailed the client saying, I'm really sorry. And I've emailed the accountant now to say, do you know why this is happening? Because I did this and I think I've really messed it up. So just be careful when you do that. Right, folks, that's been me. I hope you're all awesome. Thank you as well for bearing with me. Shout out to Steve Little for all the comments that you've been putting out on YouTube over the last few months. You're a legend. Great to connect. Take care, everyone. If you can't be good, remember, be careful.